Well, welcome to Perfectly Twisted.
Hey, Nicole.
And we've got Dave back this week.
I'm back. How about that?
Yes. Well, while we have you here, if you could just hit that like button, the subscribe, all those little gadgets at the bottom, we would really, really appreciate that. So, what's going on, Dave?
Well, I'll just it's spring. It's the weather's beautiful, everything else, and just a lot going on with family and friends. And I'm just so I don't scare the viewers, but right before the show, I was rushing to shave real fast, and I cut myself really good right here. So if I just start bleeding down the side of my face, don't let nobody freak out. But I got the box of Kleenex and everything nearby, but I was like, I can't get it to stop. I don't know what to do. It looks bad. So yeah, I didn't want to freak out of going, Dave, you're ruining the interview because your face is bleeding. So just so you know.
Dave just learning how to shave.
I am. Today was the first day on my own and didn't do too well. That's what I get for trying to do the sideburns, trying to make everything kind of look okay. But no, got a little crazy.
I imagine that would be difficult to do the sideburns.
It's not always easy. It's not always easy. So
yeah, do
anyway,
you have to have like a special mirror set up so you can see the sides? Because
I would think no, I should be able to do it, Nicole. I've been doing it for 35 years. Like I should be able to shave.
I wonder how often they're like off and you like mess up.
Probably all the time. Probably all the time.
Yeah.
It's probably all the time. I've probably been that guy with bad sideburns my whole life. Didn't even know it.
Well, just keep your head straight on.
There you go. You doing good?
I am. I had a few weird days. The fourth treatment sort of like caught up with my body in the way that I kind of fell asleep on Friday and didn't wake up until yesterday. And I was having like hot flashes, like my body was getting really, really hot, which is you have to watch out for like fever and heart attack and stuff like that. You have to be on guard for that all the time. And there was no fever or anything. It just was like my body overheating. And, just to boot, I'm going through menopause through the chemo treatments. And my cycle falls in that week right after I have treatment. So I'm just like, my body's overloaded with crap. And so I was like icing myself, putting the AC on, body aches, that sort of thing, but nothing too crazy. Like I expected, like this is the least you could expect. And the sleep was just weird because I'm not a huge sleeper and I definitely don't nap. I just put my head down and I'd be in a deep sleep. So I think that's healing. And so I listened to my body and that's what I did. And luckily Keegan can, sort of like fend for herself in the house. She's capable of dealing with that. So we did okay. We made it. We made it through the weekend and the beginning of the week and back to scheduled entertainment now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good deal.
So speaking of, we've got a fantastic guest. Okay. As everybody knows, I am always the villain. I always root for the villain. I can't even help myself. I just watched, what I binged is that Griselda. Have you watched Griselda?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I'm not a huge fan of hers. I mean, I think she's wonderful and beautiful, and I understand why she's so famous and popular and all that, but I'm just not a huge fan. But I watched the movie, and suddenly I was her number one fan and rooting for the villain, always rooting for the villain. So this lady made my life when I was a kid. I mean, I was like, what is this? She introduced me to what loving a villain is all about. And that was on Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah.
And if you don't remember when Nellie showed up to town, I mean, I don't even know who you are. So without further ado, I would love to introduce Miss Alison Arngrim.
Hey, I'm just sitting here like watching along and I'm loving it. I like when you said, well, you have to watch out for like fever and heart attack. I like that the two were in the same fever and heart attack, like things that happen during a day. And then
I know.
How do you tell when you're having menopause at the same time? It's like, maybe I'm hot. I don't know.
And it started happening like right as I was like, it was regularly scheduled. And then all of a sudden I started getting treatment and it was like, not so much. And like, and now I'm like waiting and it's.
I'm amazed. So you have hot flashes where you get hot and then you're not hot, right?
Yeah.
I hit menopause. I had this hot flash where it felt like someone was giving me a hot foot, like the old matches in the cartoons, like setting my feet on fire. It went up my body and then it just stayed there. I didn't have hot flashes. I got hot and stayed there for like a couple of years. I was like, it would be freezing outside. And I'd be like, anybody need anything from the store? And I just go out in a t-shirt. Like I wanted to like, when I visited relatives, I wanted to like lay down in the snow. It was just, I just got hot and kind of stayed there. It was, yeah.
Yeah, that's it's an interesting sensation.
It was
did you turn beet red? Because I turn a color of fuchsia that is just comical.
No, which made it worse because everybody was like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Oh my god, is it hot in here? I'm on fire. What's happening to my feet?" Like, what? You look perfectly normal. I'm dying, and it never was like you look fine.
You look great, so therefore you feel great.
Yeah. So she looks fine. So no, but I have that. I'll get sick and then I'll look fine, and people go, "Are you okay?" And I go, "No, I think we should call an ambulance." And it's like I looked fine all the way down. I don't know.
Well,
and look at you. You look great.
I know, and people keep saying that, and I'm like, well, that's great. It's great that I look great.
Well, you look like you shaved your head for a party or a roll or something. Everybody's like, "What? She looked good. She shaved her head." Yes, she's having chemo. Oh, what? She looks.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, I'm thankful. I am thankful that I don't look ill. But it is just ironic. It's just a weird thing to hear all the time. You look great. You look great. Yeah. Great. But yes, the heart attack and the fever is so real. So I have a heart rate monitor. That's all they ever want to do is check your heart rate. And I'm still ridiculous because I still don't know what the numbers are supposed to be. So I'm like checking my heart rate and I'm like, you're fine. I have no idea.
Sounds good to me. As you look at it.
I don't think I'm having a heart attack. But I turned bright red and my daughter was like, oh, and she's got this like ice facial thing that is like you ice your face with. It's all the on trend and all the rave right now. And she brings this fucker out and I'm sitting there melting on the couch and she puts it on my skin. I'm like, ah! Like it's just
shock.
Was the most horrible sensation I've ever felt in my life. But it like I melted it like a fire, like a flame to the ice. And she's so cute. She like made this paper fan, like she folded and she's sitting there fanning me. And I'm like, babe, just turn the AC on. There's ceiling fans, there's AC, but she's so sweet. And a friend of mine bought me this special blanket that like keeps you cool. So she's like digging it out of the closet. And
do you have the little scarves? Have you tried they're like a scarf and they're made of this weird plasticky rubbery material somewhere between cloth and plastic. They come in pretty colors and you soak them in water and you wring them out and then you like dunk them again. You wring them out completely. So they're not dripping. They're wet, but they are not dripping. You've weighed everything out, but it just stays weirdly damp because of the material it is. And you put it on the back of your neck and it looks like you're wearing a lovely, colorful little scarf wrap. I wore one all day I was in like Walnut Grove during some autograph thing in August. And, you just drape it around your neck and you look adorable and you have this ice cold, like wet, permanently wet pack. It stays wet for hours. And then you like bring it out and stick it in a plastic bag when you're done. But it stays cold and damp for hours under extreme heat. And I've just used it to not like pass out when I had to do an event where it was 100 degrees.
Is this something I can purchase on Amazon?
Yes, they're like everywhere. You can even order them with like your sports team logo and weird stuff.
Okay. I'm looking into that.
I had a pretty blue one that I wore that got me through. It was great. And most people just went, oh, nice scarf. And I'm like, here, touch it. And they're like, ew, it's wet. What is that? Wet. Yeah.
It's a lifesaver.
Yeah. And it looks nice, but it's just cold. It's on the back of your neck.
Oh, good tip. Ladies, I hope you're listening. I'm getting one. So you guys recently did the Little House reunion. How was that? Tell us about that.
It's like a party where we threw a party and nobody wanted to go home, and they still haven't really. It's like it's a cult. It's called Little House in the Prairie. It's just gone over the edge. So it's been 50 years, and the whole year is the 50th reunion with endless things. Simi Valley was the kickoff. So we went out to Scene of the Crime, Simi Valley, where we shot all the outdoor scenes, because we were at Paramount and then we moved to MGM, but all the exteriors were Simi Valley, where Big Sky Ranch. Everything's filmed at Big Sky Ranch. If you're watching TV and you see an old Western or a truck commercial, and it's like, it's Big Sky Ranch. And so we shot it out there. We had like fake buildings, facades, I mean, like 4 walls, but it's nothing inside. But a whole town. It looked like a whole town if you just drove up on it. It's hollow. And that's where we shot for 9 years. So we went back out there and arranged. I mean, it was years in the planning, and really, baby Carrie, Rachel Greenbush was baby Carrie, the twins, was actually kind of the instigator. It's a baby Carrie party. And everyone got on board. The cast was really producing it in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce. And we brought it was like a cast produced event. It was really, usually somebody calls you. No, we got together and went, we're going to do this. And we took over Simi Valley, and we took over the ranch, and we had facades. Artist Olan Paz built these facades of all the original buildings, put them up where the buildings were. And we had tour buses going, like multiple buses leaving at 7 a.m, going until it got dark. Just like, and people said there's still not enough buses. We still couldn't get everyone on. That went on for 3 days. It rained. That was a crisis. And then indoors at the community center, we had these artists rebuild the sets of the school church, the little house, and yes, the mercantile. And you could walk into them, and it was like you were on the set. The candy jars, everything was there. We had that, and we had costumes and displays and memorabilia, and then like the biggest autograph shindig ever held with like everyone who was ever. And Melissa Gilbert was there. Everybody was there. Jonathan Gilbert, Melissa's brother, who was Willie, who never goes to anything, didn't go to anything when we were on the show, decided to show up like by surprise and freak everybody out. It was epic.
I have a question. Because you were the villain, and people do like mix characters up. Like they see you as something on TV and they're so used to it. Are people scared of you when they come to meet you?
Yes. God, yeah, people still hate me. It's so weird. Right, because I'm kind of the least scary person, probably, But yes, people are still afraid of me. It's freaking hilarious. I've had everything. People now have more of a separation between fantasy and reality, but still people come and go, I hated you so much just when I reached the TV and punch you. And I always say, oh, thank you. You're too kind. But still, I mean, I had a woman a few years ago come up to me in an autograph show, and she just went, I forgive you, and walked out. Oh, like, holding that in for like 30, 40 years. It just, had to come all the way down to like the LA County Fair and like blurt this and run away, and then ran away. She didn't say hi, she can get an autograph. That was it. She came on. And my husband was like, was that for everything? Was that just the show? Was that absolved of all of your sins right here at the LA County Fair? It was really nuts, and I've had a lot of that. And then people are scared. People will be bringing their friends up, and they'll be like, hi, I went to blah, 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 and their friends going, yeah, like doesn't want to get too close. When people bring their kids around, if they've written, because we're now on our 8th generation of viewers. I mean, it's not just, people are now getting their kids to watch it, their grandkids. So people will bring their children, and they've seen it, and they go, it's the lady who was Nellie, and the kids won't come around the table for the picture. They get next. They're like, no, mommy, no. A kindergarten teacher came to one of her big events, and she told her class, I'm going to go meet the cast of Little House on the Prairie event. Oh, great, teacher. And Nellie also, don't go. It's a trap. They didn't want her to go because I was there and it might be dangerous, and they were afraid for her well-being. And so she had to get pictures with me smiling and write a note. And then they all wrote me adorable little letters later, like the big line paper. Thank you for being nice to our teacher. Yeah. And so, yeah. And I guess not killing her. They were terrified. They're terrified. There are so people, my friends get a lot. My friends, people say, why are you friends with her? It's just, it's a very strange way to live. It's like, it's odd.
I love that. I mean, it keeps people at bay. I'm all for it.
It keeps them at bay, yes. Oh, it's wonderful. Everybody, we all have stalkers in this business. If you're famous at all for 3.5 seconds on the internet, you got a stalker somewhere. And people over the years get stalked, especially us girls on TV. You get stalkers. Mine, they tend to stay back a little. They only go so far, because it's like, you want to come, and they just don't. It's a lot. It's much better.
This is amazing. That is the most amazing thing I've ever heard.
Oh my gosh.
Stalkers are scared. When you got the part Were you, because you were so young, were you excited to be the villain, or were you like, God, why me? Or like, nobody's gonna like me? Like, how did you process that as a
Oh
kid?
no, 100% into it. I was 12. I mean, what if I'd been like 8? I mean, when I think about Melissa Gilbert was like 9 for the pilot, 10 for the series, and was like at 9 responsible for the employment of 300 other human beings and like running the show. Like, I'd go crazy. But I was 12 and I had grown up loving the villains. I watched the horror movies. I think Vincent Price was like my favorite actor by the time I was 12. I'd seen The Bad Seed on late night TV with Patty McCormick playing the murderous little blonde child like hundreds of times. So yes, I was like, also I'd read for a lot of kid parts. And as you know, especially in the 60s and 70s, children's parts, they weren't written very realistically. They were often very cloying, very saccharine. I mean, like those poor kids in Mary Poppins, the dialogue those kids had to read. It was you go to an audition, you go, this is really dopey. Okay, no one talks like this. Yes, mother. Yes, on you get. So I get the script, and here's the thing: is I'd gone in, I'd read for the part of Laura, I'd read for the part of Mary. Wrong, it's so wrong. So I knew I wasn't. I knew I wasn't getting them right there. And then they made the pilot, and I didn't give it a second thought. And then they called me back because the series had sold to come in and read, and I was like, I'd never read the books. I didn't know there was an Ellie Olsen. Clueless. I was utterly clueless, and I showed up going, how many people are on this thing? There's another part. And as soon as I read the script, I'm reading the sides, my dad's sitting there, and right away it wasn't a normal part. It said, somebody really wrote a character like this. Wait, what? She's awful. And I turned to my father and said, this is not a normal part. And he said, what are you talking about? And I said, this girl's a total bitch. He said, what? And then I started reading it for him, and my father's like dying of laughter. He is falling off the stairs. We're just killing us. He goes, oh my God, oh my God. He goes, okay, you're going to read it like that. In fact, don't read it again. Don't rehearse it. Don't look at it again. Put the pages face down. Don't look at them. Go in and do whatever the heck that was that you just did. I'm like, okay. And I go, and there's Michael Landon, and there's Kent McRae, and there's Ed Foote, there's the rich producers. They're all there. And I'm sitting like this far from Michael Landon, and I'm like, okay. And it's like the whole episode. It's like pages and pages, and I read the whole thing. And of course, the famous my home is the best home in all of Walnut Grove. And they're howling with laughter. And they said, could you do it again, please? And I said, yes, what would you like me to change? And they said, nothing, just read the thing about the house again. And I did. And they hired me on the spot. And I was just, I'm the villain. So yeah, I jumped in with both feet and took great glee in being scary and terrible right away. And then when she got kind of funny, it was like, wait, she's not only terrible and villainous, she's also kind of ridiculous. Because Mrs. Olsen, Catherine McGregor, was so over the top ridiculous. And she was just like the ultimate Karen, ridiculous, what is wrong with this woman? And so then when we realized, wait, there's comedy gold here to be dug, then I was even happier. It's like, I'm annoying and funny. Yeah, I was thrilled.
Yeah, that was a breakout role. Because you mentioned Bad Seed. I loved all those movies as a kid too, like Alice, Sweet Alice. A lot of people don't like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I used to search for like the bad characters and the bad kids and stuff like that.
I liked all the creepy movies. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you were like, when you came on, it was like, hold the phone. What is this? You just disrupted the whole show.
And that's the thing is there weren't, I mean, for TV, okay, The Bad Seed was a movie and it was based on a play. And even when they made the movie, they had to do a thing at the end where she comes out at the end. So like, it's not real. I mean, they were like really freaked out by it. There weren't a lot of TV characters at that time, children who were bad. Margaret, our lovely Margaret from Dennis the Menace, Jeannie Russell, lovely person. But she was just kind of like annoying and bossy. Margaret wasn't plotting evil things against you and pretending to be paralyzed. Things that not like that, and tormenting stutterers. It was really, and like the stuttering episode, I call that the episode where even I hate me, because I was just so horrible to this girl. And I had a speech impediment when I was a kid. I had to go to speech class after. I couldn't say the letter F. I talked like Cindy Brady. And I had to go to speech class after school. So I met all the stutterers and stammerers. They were my friends. Like, I'm going to go pick on the stutterer. Hello. So that was kind of horrifying. But I liked the villains, and I kind of like, I would sometimes, I remember I'd get scripts Sometimes I would try different line readings. I mean, yes, I was very method and completely into the character, but I would sometimes go, well, what if I like this? What if, this intention that I know I'm like sounding all Uta Hagen and I was like 14, but I was like totally into it. I would try out line readings. And when I got to the line reading that made me want to punch myself in the face, that was the one.
That was
Just
the
you'd
goal.
say something, oh, that sounds annoying. Oh, that's worse. And then I go that way. I would hit somebody if they talk to me like that. Ding! I'll have to that one. Yeah.
So good. I actually auditioned for a remake. I remember they did a remake of the Bad Seed like years later, and I auditioned for
Mommy with like Rob Lowe, or so it was really weird. Was where she?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really remember much about it. I
One
could probably look
Mommy
it up.
Bad Seed grows up, and then there's another one. There's a couple remakes where it's I was like Rob Lowe or somebody really where he has a daughter, and it's like, oh my god, it's happening again, kind of thing.
So I was so excited. I couldn't understand why I did not book that part. It was like that is me. That should be me, but I didn't get it as a kid. But yeah, we watched those, and I actually got to play Margaret on Dennis the Menace, doing some voice work as a kid. I did. So they're always the more fun parts, right? It's always like
so much more to do.
Yeah.
And freeing. And if you're really awful, like I was, it gets it all out of your systems. Talk about getting the toxins out. The yelling, the screaming, the throwing of things is extremely therapeutic. And as you know, I've been very open about it. It's in my book. I suffered abuse as a child. I was bullied. I wasn't the Nelly. I was the Nelly fodder at school. I was anything. It was just kind of awful when I was a kid. So what happens is when you suffer that and you have that kind of trauma, you have all this rage that kind of has nowhere to go. And you'd have to find an outlet for that therapeutically where you can get that out so you don't just go mad. And here I suddenly, at puberty, when it really would be the problem, have this job where I'm being told to yell and scream at the top of my lungs and break things and throw things. I'm like, yes, I can do that. Thank you very much. And it's just letting it out. And then I'm also in this like lovely safe space with all these people who are horribly nice to me and supportive and wonderful. And I'm going, what is happening? Why are they nice? People are being nice to me. So all in all, I mean, if you could have designed some kind of weird therapeutic long-term program for someone who suffered the level of abuse I did, you would have come up with this. And Little House in the Prairie was like going to some really intensive therapy for 7 years. And all the doctors say, yes, it did wonders, and why I'm able to walk and chew gum at the same time now.
Wow. Oh, that's so interesting how life works like that, because it could have the complete reverse effect, right? You suffered these things and then you got on a bad set and
bad for you. Oh yeah. I mean, getting on Little House, a lot of the child stars say getting on Little House was like winning the child star lottery, because a lot of my friends who were on other shows were like, it was weird. And the crew were creepy or whatever cackle. And I was like, our crew, if you went to someone on our crew and said, that man is bothering me, they might not find the body. Yeah. Just a lot of Italians, just saying.
Well, did a lot of that stem from Michael Landon being such a solid guy, right? I mean, he set the tone.
He was what? I mean, if you the real Michael Landon, I mean, it was the 1970s. Was he wearing tight pants with no underwear and his shirt unbuttoned to his navel and gold chains? Yes, he was. Was he driving a Ferrari and every other expensive car he could get his hands on? Yes, he was. Did he enjoy wild turkey and Marlboros? Yes. And it was the 70s and everybody ate terrible food and drank and smoked on the set. It's like, people don't smoke on sets now. To go outside, and the craft services table has gluten-free and vegan options. We had donuts and bear claws, damn it, and coffee. And to take the paint off your car and big C&H sugar cubes. It wasn't even like splendid. It was sweet and low. It was like sugar and milk and coffee and donuts. That's your breakfast and you'll like it. And that's how it was. And everybody's like, ugh. And they're all smoking and drinking and going and drinking beer. Guys standing on a ladder, all the grips have like a beer in their hand. It was the 70s and this was utterly normal. These guys had come up through the 50s. They'd all been on Bonanza. And so they were that generation of, the 3 martini lunch. So all of that stuff was also just like weirdly normal as like Mad Men or something. And so like by today's standards, you go, what are you doing? You're all smoking and drinking. But then it was all totally normal. But Michael had kids. He loved kids. Part of him was eternally 12, I think, his sense of humor. And he liked hanging out with us kids. And weirdly, he also treated us with respect. I talked about this in the book that one of the ADs, the assistant directors, wanted to give us all gum and candy at the end of the day as like a reward. And Michael said no, because they're not little trained animals. They're actors. They're getting a paycheck. It's their job. They're professionals. If they don't do their job, well, they get fired. We get somebody else. If they do their job, they get a raise. Well, yeah, it's like the real world. And they're not little trained dogs. And we're not doing that to them. We don't do little treats. We don't go up to the grown-up actors, go, gum. So we're not doing that to these children. And I was like, wait, we're going to be treated like humans, like professional actors. What a thought. And we're absolutely treated like professionals. And I think that when you see that the cast of Little House, or as I like to say, no arrests, no convictions, we're very proud. We're a pretty good group for a bunch of child actors in a TV series. We've done very, very well for ourselves. And I think that we were treated professionals in a professional environment. There was lots of joking around and stuff, but we weren't treated as like idiots. And at the same time, we weren't treated like spoiled little princesses that we were now special. It's like, get in there and get to work. And I think that kind of work ethic and professional treatment probably did wonders for all of our self-esteem and sanity.
Yeah, because it's so many sets, and people, I don't think that public really realizes this. On so many sets, the kids are subjected to adult humor and adult language and adult behavior all day long without a thought. Adults tend to get annoyed that there's kids on the set. Like, why is that kid standing there when they say something terrible? And it becomes more of like the child's fault that they were there. And
well, when the star of the show is 9, Melissa Gilbert's like running the train. It's kind of like, hey, everybody, the stars of the shows are all children. This is how we're going to do this thing to pull it together. And they did tell some terrible jokes. Michael was very clever. He did a thing, and I realized it was a trick. I didn't realize it was a trick when I was a kid. Eventually, as a teenager, I went, it's a trick. Oh my God, it's genius. He would come up to the kids, especially the little boys, that horrible age of like 9 and 10 when they all have horrible, horrible third grade dirty jokes. And he'd say, what's the worst joke you kids have like heard this week? I want to know. Tell me. I'm collecting. And everyone would tell him these gross, terrible, awful jokes. And he'd squeal and giggle and tell us some really third grade toilet humor joke. But he would get us all to tell him jokes. And it was years before it dawned on me. It's a trick. He's checking to see if we're actually okay. See, we're supposed to be at that age telling age-appropriate poo-poo, toilet humor, stupid, terrible, children dirty jokes. If someone comes in with a different joke that clearly shows that they've been getting exposed to things they're not supposed to be getting exposed to, he's gonna know, isn't he? And the kid's not even gonna realize. He didn't come up to the kid and say, hey, are you being sexually abused? He just said, tell me like the dirtiest joke you know.
Interesting.
And so I thought, a fascinating way to take the temperature of like all the kids in the room and see where everyone's actually at. Oh, they're all still totally age appropriate. Good to know. Okay, good. It wasn't like, hey, are any of you viewing age inappropriate material? No, but that's how we knew. So it was very, very crazy. And they did at one point put up a note, a big poster practically in makeup, like next to the OSHA stuff, saying, now everyone, remember, we do have mostly a cast of children on this show. So you got to rein it in with the swearing and the dirty jokes till after the kids leave. I mean, they only have to be here 9 hours. You can talk after that. And they said, for the sake of, and they listed all the kids except me. I think I was the oldest by then, maybe at 15, because I was older than the other girls. And the thing is, I'd started doing stand-up comedy at 15 at the Comedy Store, the Improv. So I think when they went to write the note and say, for the sake of our children, we shouldn't swear, the crew went, she goes to the Comedy Store as an act. I'm not restraining myself in front of her. What are you doing? And they went, okay, well, you get a pass. You say whatever you want in front of her. Who cares? But they did say, okay, guys, they would cut every now and then say, everybody rein it in. There's been some swearing in front of the kids. Come on, let's not, be terrible.
What was that like, being at like the comedy club and stuff like that as a kid? That's because that's a lot of exposure.
That was so crazy because well, as you know, I liked comedy. I was like funny as a kid. And when I got into my teens, and then you know this drill. So you're on a show and your managers and agents go, so what is the other thing that you're going to do? Do sing? Do dance? What do you have to go in the talk? What was it? The talk shows back then you had like Mike Douglas and you had like 3 talk shows basically to go on, the daytime shows, and you would come, like, people would sing, or they'd have a recipe, something. You were supposed to do something. We put out an album, we tour. What is the thing that you're doing besides being the show that we're making money from and promoting? And I really don't really sing. Particularly terrible singer as a child. I could sort of carry a tune now. I didn't dance. I just didn't. But I like stand-up comedy. I was hanging out with comedians. My father was a manager and he was managing some comedians, and I went to the club and I was heckling a comic who kind of did the, if you think this is so easy, you ought to try this. And I went, good idea. And got together with some of my comic friends who wrote an act. The Village Idiots comedy group, which is Peter Jurasik and Jan Fisher, who wrote The Lost Boys, and Mark Ganzel of Couches They Called Huge Stars later, wrote my stand-up act. And I started performing at coffee houses, were all ages, but also the Improv. They serve food, you could get in there. And then the Comedy Store, I had to wait in the parking lot till right before my set. And then I was escorted through the door directly to the stage. Could not have a drink in my hand, not Coca-Cola, and no glass in hand, and had to go directly to the stage and then immediately off stage back to the parking lot after my set.
Oh, interesting.
Like,
and was
2 other minors, I think, who did. Yeah.
Did your stand-up have like, did you swear in it, or what was the content of yours?
No, I was a lot of double entendre. I actually for years didn't really swear. I mean, I said bitch. I said yes. I refer to getting called the Prairie bitch. And people have been calling me the Prairie bitch. I didn't swear, but I did have various double entendre and make references to all sorts of outrageous things. But I weirdly did not swear. It wasn't really until well into adulthood when I finally played New York that somebody said, well, you're playing New York. Joan Rivers is playing the same club. You're like on the circuit with her. And that old lady swears the air blue. So if you don't like swear more, no one in New York, if you don't say fuck every other sentence, no one in New York will understand literally what you're saying. So I went, okay, sure. And so that was fine by me. But I guess back in the 70s, we were taught to try to have a clean 6 minutes for TV. So you tried not to drop the F-bomb and keep it sort of clean. But I mean, I made various, definitely sexual innuendo and talked about all kinds of weird stuff. It was hilarious, actually.
I love that. That is, and did you complete school? Were you out of, you were still in school when you were shooting and doing all of this, right?
I went to real school. I went to, I'm chewing my ice cube. I went to Gardner Elementary School for a Hollywood person. Bancroft Junior High and Hollywood High. Public school. Went to public school. And then when I was on the set, it was kind of glorified study hall. This is a 3-hour school for you. So the 3-hour school would be in whatever room was available, which is funny because when we were out in Simi, it was the schoolhouse. It was empty. Just put the tables in it. So we were in the schoolhouse with just folding chairs and tables. So you bring your work from school. Now, obviously, the 2 Melissas were there all the time. So the teachers gave them their final exams and stuff. In my case, I just went back to school and said, I was out for 3 days. I need to make up tests. So I'd be out for 2 weeks, school for 3 days, out for 3 days, school for 2 weeks. This would just go, which is very confusing. You missed that one lecture, chapter 9 in algebra, and you're kind of like, you just finished. You just dead in the water. So, but I brought my work in and they would make sure I'd done my homework. I did leave high school legally. I took the proficiency exam in like the 11th grade. So I did that, but I went to public school. When I started the show, I was going to public school. I had all my friends there. And as the show went on and my parents said, well, you have a bit of money. You could go to a private school if you wanted to do that sort of thing. But I don't know, we were sort of hippie anti-elitists kind of that era. So private school. And then the public school was down the street. And then my friends were there. I'd known these people since the 3rd grade. I wasn't going to walk away. And one of the smartest things I ever did was keep my friends from the 3rd grade. When you're in show business and people come and go and you don't know where that, and people hate you, in my case, or love you for being to be. And you have these people who don't care, who've known you as you since you were 9 and you're just Alison. yeah, you want to keep those people around. And so that was
true.
nice.
It's true. And also people don't realize when you're in and out of school like that, you sort of you miss a couple days, like you said, with a teacher, you miss a lecture. You also miss like all the social life with your friends at that age, and it becomes awkward because you weren't at that party or you weren't at that event,
you
or
weren't there, and you miss all the gossip and the thing. They would always catch me up. I'd arrive, they go, okay, Kim, here's what happened, and they'd catch me up on the gossip. But it was weird. And now they're doing things like for kids who have chemistry and you have to have lab, you have to do lab in person. They got like vans with the chemistry lab. They'll take them out to the studio a lot so that they're not losing those credits and not graduating. So they're bringing all kinds of stuff. And now, of course, we have video. We can Zoom and we can tape lectures. So the technology, I mean, if I could have had somebody video my algebra teacher and just bring me the thing or email it to me or Zoom, I'd have probably gotten A's. But I was like, oh, well, back in those days. So it's better now. They have the technology that kids can, catch the lecture on YouTube now. But it was kind of brutal then. But I'm so glad I stayed in public school, because when I wasn't on the show, I was at regular plain old public school with regular people who knew me as me and I knew them as them, and they didn't care what I did for a living. It was Hollywood too. Everybody's parents were in the business or something. So they're like, yeah, whatever. They did not care. It didn't mean anything that I was on a TV show. I was either cool as far as the standards of junior high, or I was not. I generally was not, but I hung out with nerds. I was a huge nerd. My friends were all nerds. So.
The best kind. So you obviously grew up in Hollywood. So did you move out here for the industry, or were you already living here? And explain that part to me.
My family had moved out here for the industry, but they were already on the showbiz bandwagon before I got here. My parents met in the theater in Canada. I'm a Canada American. My parents met in the theater. My father was a farm boy. His whole story, he's Albert Ingalls. He was in the orphanage, and then he was adopted by farmers on the prairie. He was a farm boy in Saskatchewan. Anybody out there knows where Mozart is? It's not barely on the map. It's from Mozart, Saskatchewan, and milk cows and stuff, and didn't like it, and wanted to be an actor. And he moved to Vancouver in his teens and started acting. And by the time he was in his early 20s, he was like a famous producer in Vancouver, producing theater. And he and a guy named Stuart Baker ran the theater, Totem. And then my mother showed up. And she was very funny. She said, I know you guys don't know anything about finance or taxes, and I know how to keep the books. I have a certificate from business college, so I will keep the books. You won't go to jail, and you give me all the female leads. Your mother made me an offer I couldn't refuse. It was like the producers. And so, Bialystok and Bloom, she was Bloom. So they wound up in theater. They wound up getting married. They were in Toronto. They were in radio. They came to New York. My father was on Broadway. My mother, this is where you're going to all lose your tiny little minds. My mother was a cartoon. My mother got into voiceover. My mother was Casper, the friend. Casper's behind. You can see Casper behind me. There's Casper. Oh. My mother was Casper, the friendly. Casper. Where's Casper? He's right back there. Here he is. My mother was kidding. Casper, the friendly ghost, and she was Gumby, and
way.
She was Sweet Polly, purebred underdog's girlfriend. Where is underdog? And the weirdest of all, my mother was the voice of Davy and Goliath.
Wow.
So that was weird. So my mother became the queen of cartoons. If you're old enough to remember the first Family album with the comedy album about the Kennedys, the actor Von Meter was JFK. My mother was Caroline and John on the biggest selling comedy album in the history.
Wow.
Yeah, she was huge. If you get any books about voiceover or cartoons, there's a book called The Magic Behind the Voices. If you get any of those big books, and there's a whole chapter, Norma Macmillan, she's in all of them, and it's a chunk of the book. She's one of those people. It's like June Foray, blah, 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 Norma Macmillan, Dawes Butler. She's one of those people. So she was everybody, which made it really weird for me watching Saturday morning cartoons. But the whole family were in show business, and so we were already living in LA, and I had Batman's agent, the fabulous Lou Sherrill. He was he was Batman's agent. And so yeah, everyone I knew was in show business. People came over for dinner. They were on TV. It was everybody's on TV, aren't they? And so it was considered completely normal. And so yeah, I started working. It was like the family business. So there you go. So many things that are weird were like, no, this is normal. Like, oh, okay. So I didn't think being on TV was weird. And like I said, going to school at Gardner and Hollywood, it's like, at the very least, somebody's mom was a newscaster. It's like, they were like, oh yeah, you're in TV. I remember though in high school, the big thing was to go to Paramount and see the tapings of Happy Days and Jody Loves Chachi and all of those shows. And Little House was not a 3-camera show. We were in film out on location. And my friend said, why can't you be on a good show like Joni Loves Chachi?
Laverne and Shirley. Why can't people watch
They
you?
all went to the tape. It was a ritual. And so like you're supposed to, I think 16 was the limit, but oh my God, yes, even in junior high, everybody knew somebody, they got in. And the ritual was on Friday, Saturday nights. Everybody went to the tapings. And they were like, we've been to Laverne and Shirley, and we've been to Happy Days, and we've been to Joni Loves Chachi, we've been to everything. And we can't go see your show. What is wrong with you? Why can't we not go to a taping at Paramount, watch you? Why we're not driving to Simi Valley?
That's funny.
Yeah. Dave knows all about going to tapings of shows.
Yeah,
That was
I used to do it a lot. That's how Nicole and I met.
Right. It was the thing in the 70s. I was in junior high school, and the gossip, like on Monday, oh yeah, we were at the Laverne and Shirley taping, and who was there, and blah blah blah. That was what you did, and they was just like, that they couldn't come to a tape.
yeah, that's funny. That's true. We used to go to we go to Silver Spoons, and everybody used to go to each other's tapings. Yeah. Oh, those days.
I haven't been to a lot of tapings. I went to a taping of She's the Sheriff with Suzanne Summers because my mother was a guest star on. I said my mother was in everything. My mother was in an episode of She's the Sheriff, and we all went to the taping, and it was awesome.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those things where it was like, why am I going to go back to work on my free time, right?
I know. I was like, why? They would go to everything, like, really? And I said, but don't they like stop and have to do pickups, and you wind up sitting in that studio audience for hours? Oh yeah, it's great. Like, no.
Hard pass. It's true. And I took my my oldest daughter, it was still kind of a thing, and there was a couple shows that she wanted to see, and I took her. So I was, this full-grown adult, and I mean, we were there like 4 hours. I'm not kidding. It was
the worst one. And again, it was friend was in it, so it's like, let's all go. It was the Tracy Ullman show, a great show. I don't know what was going on with their time management organization skills taping a show. I don't know what went wrong. We were there like all night. Oh, they took forever. Things kept going wrong. They had to do things over. It took them forever to do the show. Then they wanted to do pickups. They brought out food. They brought out snacks because we were there all night, and we were trapped. We'd been kidnapped and forced to spend like 6 hours with Tracy Ullman and company. It was horrifying.
Which is so bizarre to me because you're not going to get genuine laughter from people anymore. They're now being held captive and are dreaming of going home.
And they're hungry and tired. You no longer have a studio audience. You have hostages. They are not laughing. It was so weird. I was like, why? Just use the track and let us go. Who cares?
Yeah, I just, because canned track was like, they're going to use it anyway. Right. They're going to use that anyway. So it sort of was like I feel like the death of like they killed the whole thing of live audience and the excitement of that and the energy of that, which made those shows work. And so they don't do those shows very much anymore. And
it was all the rage. I could not quite see the attraction of going and spending hours sitting in a sound stage, watching a bunch of people clump around and do their show. I'm like, it's going to be on TV. Why are we doing I was like, that I could not get it. But my friends were like, oh my God, yes, we must go to the tapings.
Well, they weren't exposed to it as much as you were, right? And the other thing is like for when we did Charles in Charge, we really didn't keep the audience. We would do the first show, we would just run it.
And then you let them go.
Yes, we would let them go. And the second show, we might stop here and there, but the pickups were after the audience was gone. And I think it made it much more enjoyable.
Exactly. But yeah, I was kidnapped by Tracy Ullman.
Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare. That I kind of was too. I was on a show and I was like, how many times? And they were like rewriting on the spot and like testing the audience out. And I'm like, nobody's laughing anymore, you know? And the
No,
poor warm-up guy.
Oh, the warm-up guy with the t-shirts, a t-shirt cannon. You've been to the one with the t-shirt cannon. Oh yeah. I like that part.
Yeah, he's like trying to keep it fresh, and it's, we're gonna watch this one more time. It's act like you've never heard it before. It's impossible. It was the death of those sitcom shows, which is so sad because I miss them so much.
That's why I guess I'm sort of glad. I mean, there were times when, oh, I wish I did, but now I'm really kind of glad I did film because I think the other drove me crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. There was a fun element to it because it was a lot like doing theater. But again, we didn't keep our audience there and torture them.
Play and then stop and then go. Could you hang around for another couple of hours? You do the show, you go home.
Yeah. I mean, are there really any live audience shows like this right now?
Are they doing that? I don't know. I mean, there's sitcoms, and I'm going, is that live? There must be. There's signs up at the studio. Yes, they're doing tapings. There's signs up at Warner Brothers. People go. And I was invited. Someone said, I can get you into a taping.
Oh, joy.
That's okay.
Lucky you.
Fine. Good.
Unbelievable. And so you left LA.
I didn't. I'm just one of those people. It's like, my friend Howie teases me, says, where is she now? She never left. She's just, I'm just here. I'm just still here. I'm just exactly where I've been the whole time. Yeah, we came into LA. I mean, it must have been 3 when we came from New York to LA. And I've just been here the whole time. I mean, I moved to Tahunga. I went over the 210. It was, and I was in the Hollywood Hills up until then. And then we got a dealer's century on this fabulous place and we took it. So I'm up in the woods with the bears in Tahunga. Bears. It's great. But yeah, I'm still totally hanging around in Los Angeles. I never went anywhere. And I've always done something. I'm 62 and I'm still doing things. I, of course, heavily gotten the stand-up comedy. And I did a lot of theater. Remember dinner theater? There's still a few places doing it. God, I loved dinner. It paid so much money. You go in to a strange city where you didn't know anybody. You'd hang out with the crew. You'd just have long rehearsals, like weeks. And then you'd do this play like forever. And you'd be out in the middle of nowhere and it would snow. And there was always a lot of food and they paid you a lot of money. And I was like, sure. So I did that a lot. I did real theater, regular stuff. And then, of course, I got very involved with AIDS Project Los Angeles when Steve Tracy, who played my husband, Percival, on Little House, went public with his AIDS diagnosis. And in 85, 86, that was a freaky thing to do. Like Rock Hudson had just, and he wasn't even planning on going public. Or as I said, Liberace was still telling people he was on the watermelon diet. It was a weird time. People thought they were going to get AIDS off a doorknob. Nobody went public. And here was Steve going on TV going, hi, you know me from Little House on the Prairie and I have AIDS. So that was very weird. And I started volunteering at AIDS Project Los Angeles to help people. And I wound up going all over the country doing lectures about the disease, how it works, the treatments that were happening, how to help family members or loved one if they were sick, and how no, you're not going to get it off just touching a doorknob, and how you can protect yourself. It was great. And so I did a lot of that, and I hosted a show called AIDS Vision. It was like public access, but it was a marvelous show done by AIDS Project Los Angeles, where I interviewed doctors and clients and people all about the issues pertaining to HIV/AIDS at the time. So I did that. And then God bless the internet, because I now with web series and all the crazy stuff to do, I'm like, hi, now I'm in your computer all the time, everywhere. I've done a couple independent films. I got a movie coming out. It's a thing called Buster Brooks. Dreadfully funny, stars one of the kids from High School Musical. It's a great movie. I get to be mean to him and throw him out of my restaurant and yell at him for playing the banjo. It's about a Kanapur farm boy make it overnight in Hollywood, time to save the family farm with the help of his pet chicken, Edgar. It's that funny. It's hysterical. The woman, I'd done a film for her before, the thing Even in Dreams, where I'm the evil band manager who tries to ruin that poor lovely girl's life. I did that. And then she said, well, this other film, that's just a small part. Did you want to be in this? I go, hell yeah. And then I read it. I was like, burst out laughing. I was like, please, yes, please, may I be in this? So I try to do a film a year, or a play a year. I've gone all over the country, still doing theater. I do everything. And then I have my show, which we're just on.
Yes.
And then we're doing this wacky podcast, the 50 for 50, Little House 50 episodes for the 50th anniversary, with Dean Butler, who was our Almanzo. Dean and I and a woman named Pamela Bob in New York, who's hysterical. The three of us do a show and discuss all things Little House related and interview people from the show. And it is epic. Epic, I tell you. It's a scream and a half. I find it, again, it's therapy. With Dean and I just the other day, we're talking about things that happened 50 years ago. I never told anyone this. You didn't tell me you felt that way. It was like we're doing group therapy on TV. So yes, I'm everywhere and doing everything. And I still do my one woman show. My stand-up morphed into a one woman show, Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, which has like video and photos and everything. And then I did my book. I wrote a book, which was huge, actually.
And what is that called? Tell us what that's called.
Confessions of a Prairie Bitch: How I Survived Nellie Oleson and Learned to Love Being Hated.
I love that.
Absolutely, New York Times bestseller, the whole bit. And it's still selling. Okay, I read this book several years ago. Normally, no one should be even reading this book. And it's like, no, people still like, no, I need another copy. And I go, and now, of course, I go to the fan events. I've always liked going to the Prairie fan events out in Walnut Grove and all these places. But this year, so we did See Me. Then we did, what was it? Okay, I started this year. I did my one-woman show at the Sierra Madre Playhouse in LA. I did Confessions there. Then I went to the Working Women show in St. Louis. Then, of course, we had Then I went to France because I do shows in France. Oh, I spent 2 months out of the year in France doing a French
by
show.
the way.
I do a comedy review completely in French. Nellie Oleson, enflamme les années 80. Nellie Oleson sets fire to the 80s. Historical to me and a French guy. And again, video, craziness, music, audience interaction, banana boats, audience participation. And it's in French. And we travel around the French countryside.
Oh my God.
I know, it's really
How can I be you? How can I be you?
weird.
That's
It's so
amazing.
good. And I did, and then we decided after See Me, my French friend, can we do the show in Los Angeles? I'm like, what? And so we did. We added some English and threw in an English Q&A. We did the show in LA because I'm insane. And then we just did Kentucky. We had a whole Little House thing in Kentucky. That was huge. And then I just got back from the Marshfield, Missouri Cherry Blossom Festival. Did that. I got an event this weekend, and then I'm heading out soon to Chicago, a little tour. I'm doing Chicago Club, Venus Cabaret, then the Laurie Beachman Theater in New York City. Then I'm going to Louisville and Nashville, a big club called Play. But I'm doing my show at that. And then I think it's Kansas. It's the Little House site in Independence, Kansas. We're going to go to that. And then it just goes on like that. I'm doing the television festival in Monte Carlo.
Wow.
I'm doing about 8-9 more Little House on the Prairie cast reunion with various cast members at various places. Johnny Cash's ranch in Nashville is a thing. We're going to go to that and have an autograph show.
Fun.
And we do these fan meet and greets where it's Gravel Road production has this whole site, and they do a thing where often there's a breakfast with the cast. You pay so much, you eat breakfast with us, ask questions. And there's a dinner and then we do the usual autograph thing where you get your picture taken and we sign stuff for you. And we do this all over the country, especially because it's the 50th, so whole gaggles of us. There's a big one in Connecticut coming up. I think we're going to Branson, Missouri in November, and then that's not counting my shows because then I'm in San Francisco and a bunch Provincetown, Walnut Grove. Yes, the real Walnut Grove where the show takes place. We're going to the real one in Minnesota, which we did not film it. There's the place we filmed that's pretend in California, and then the actual Walnut Grove in Minnesota where Laura really lived. And there's a huge blowout giant cast reunion event in July that's going to be there. So we're all going to that. And then I go back to France because I can. And I do Nellie Oleson on Flanders and his Cathervan for a couple of weeks. And then it's kind, and then Thanksgiving and basically November and December, other than Branson, I'm kind of taking November, December off. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is a plate and a half full of
Oh,
stuff.
my schedule's insane. I have a newsletter, the Nellie newsletter, which you can get.
Tell us where.
Gravel Prod. If you email us at loosegravelprod at AOL, or there's a thing on my website you can sign up. We will send you the newsletter every month. and tell you where I am. I just fixed up my calendar on I have so many I have two websites, bonnetheads.com. It's the big fan site. But if you click over to AlisonArngrim.net, which is it's listed on Bonnetheads too, there's a calendar, a whole like active calendar with literally all my dates and ticket links, and then of course the newsletter. But I am, and I just posted some stuff on Facebook. I am literally everywhere. I am literally everywhere between. We have the 50th anniversary Little House on the Prairie events with the whole cast that I'm going to, all of them, and then I have France, and then I have my one-woman show Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, where I have a lovely audience question and answer segment, which is so much fun. But I did that show out of my living room during the pandemic because in 2020, when I couldn't go anywhere, I started my store selling bonnets online. I did totally free readings on Facebook. Every day I read a chapter from Little House on the Prairie books. I read all 9 books, all of them. And then I read The Wizard of Oz, and then I read Anne of Green Gables, and then I read all the books about Laura Ingalls and inspired by Laura Ingalls. And then I went back and read the entire Little House set again. I read every single day for over 600 times. I got a plaque from my local senator. But I did. I read for like 2 years straight, starting in 2020. Just said, hey, y'all still home? Me too. Hey, here, let's read this. And just read every single day at like 1:30. And had other cast members come in and guest star. And then I couldn't do my stand-up act. And I found out there's a platform called stage.com. And I got a backdrop over. I got half the living room was a mess because I put up a backdrop and I got lighting and literally performed my stand-up act in my living room. The kitchen was the dressing room, and my husband ran the computer, and I did my stand-up show and put it out for pay-per-view on the internet live from my living room.
Unbelievable. That's amazing. Give us your website one more time so that people can find
bonnetheads.com. And then there's the calendar. The newsletter's always posted there. If you go to bonnetheads.com, you can get links to everything else. And I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. I'm on everything. And come see me. I'm everywhere, literally everywhere.
Go follow our friend Alison. You are amazing. You are truly amazing.
Oh, and let's see, what else am I doing? Let me see. So I got the podcast here, the Alison Arngrim show. I got the 50/50 podcast. I got the French show. I got the American show. I got the 50. Oh, and then I'm also president of the National Association to Protect Children, protect.org, where we're fighting child abuse at a legislative level in Washington, all over the country. And now we're looking at all kinds of programs about education because, all the kids went on the internet for school, which is great, except high internet is like predator land. So that put them also in harm's way and how to deal with that. And we're doing really interesting things to protect. And I'm doing that as well as the other 5,000 things. I'm writing a cookbook. Oh yeah. Did I mention I have cooking videos? You can go on YouTube. Who's going to do cooking with Alison Arngrim? I'll teach you how to make scrambled eggs. And I'm writing a cookbook because people are afraid to cook, and my character couldn't cook. I can cook, but Nellie couldn't cook. So who better than Nellie to say, you think you can't cook, but yes, you can, and show people how.
Well, good for you. I love that.
I try to stay busy.
Yeah, sounds like it. Now I'm sitting here looking at my life going, well, what the fuck are you doing?
Man, you're on vacation compared to me, babe. I don't know.
I don't know. You got me thinking now.
Have you seen Living on a Prairie, the web series Living on a Prairie?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God. So this Pamela Bob woman in New York, she's a Broadway actress. And she said, I never really don't. She writes this thing. She said, I read this like comedy show. She said, I'm dying of laughter reading this thing. It's kind of autobiographical. If she was like worse, she's a little obsessed with Little House. So she wrote a character who's so obsessed with Little House on the Prairie that like she can't keep a job or a boyfriend or anything. She's like really into it. I mean, Pamela has a husband and 2 kids, but this character's like, Little House is everything. And it's screamingly funny. And I play her life coach therapist.
Oh,
yeah, that good. And it's dreadfully funny. Charlotte Stewart as Miss Beadle, plays a bartender. And so various cast members like appear settling for that. And it's like not even discussed like who they obviously are. But yes, I play the therapist to a woman who's obsessed with Little House on the Prairie.
That's hysterical.
So yes, I get around.
For you. Well, we love that. We are very happy that you are sharing yourself with us so much like that. So everybody go check it out, bonnethead.com. Thank you, Alison. Thank you for
I
sharing
felt
with
up my
us.
boobs this morning. You told me all about how to do the thing.
Oh yeah,
I
fill yourself
in
up,
the
girl.
shower, felt up my boobs, and they're very squishy. Not a bump there, I'm pleased to say. No, I forget my boobs are so squishy. I hadn't done it in a while. They're squishy boobs. Is that good?
No,
Is it good to have
that's
squishy
good.
boobs? I don't
This is
know.
what we want. We want the squishy boobs.
Should they be firmer or should they be squishier? I don't know what the correct
That could
texture
be a preference. That could be a preference. We just don't want any hard lumps in there. Okay.
definitely no hard lumps. It was squishy. Are they supposed to be that squishy?
Yeah. Have fun with it. Have fun with. That's what they're there for. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Good luck with everything, and enjoy your break off at this at the holidays. It sounds like
I got a
you
couple
won't
of
have a break
days.
till the
Yeah, I
holidays.
got a couple of I got a thing Saturday, and then I'm on a plane. Wednesday? Eh.
I love it. I will live vicariously. Take care. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
That was cool. That was
How
really
fun
cool.
is that?
Yeah. I love the staying busy. I love the energy. I'm always excited to hear the stories. But I thought you asked all the questions that I would have asked. I didn't jump in because I was like, you were so good. It was. I always find it interesting. Like you always talk about playing, the bad person, but I always think in my mind, as much fun as it is being someone that you aren't, it's still when the camera's off, like she said, people don't understand sometimes. Hey, it's just a show. That's not really me. But I can't imagine being a kid going, let's say, to the mall and have people, say terrible things to you. Everybody really does want to be liked and appreciated, but it shows you how good she was in that role. And for me, just as a viewer, Nicole, I felt like she might be the first bad guy I ever met. Like, when you
Yeah.
watch TV and you want something bad to happen to her because she's so mean. She was so good in that character. That was something else. I said to her before the show, I said I literally had to call my sister, who's 4 years older than me, to tell her who was coming on, and immediately all those emotions come back. My sister's in her 50s, and she's gets all fired up again. And that shows you how good she was at that you could fall into that character on that television set and go, I hate that girl.
Yeah.
She drove
I
us
mean, I
crazy.
think she was like one of the first villains that you fell in love with. I mean, at least for
Yes.
me, that was life-changing for me. It really,
Yeah.
really was.
That was
So,
really neat.
yeah,
That was
super
really
cool.
neat. And I love the fact that she's, so busy. You and I have had a chance to talk to some amazing guests, and you've brought on some great people. And at the same time, it seems like a lot of people are excited they were in the business, and some people that were like, that was part of my life and it's over. And for me, I always feel bad when it feels like people sometimes have a bad experience or saying it was enough. It was just too much. It was too much pressure. It was too much going on. I like to see that people, enjoyed it that much, as I think most viewers feel, to say, they loved it the way we loved it too, watching it, and
Yeah.
embraced it.
Yeah, that's big. It really is.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And so that was really neat. That was really neat. So I got to ask you, as we move on in the show, what are you watching right now? Because I find myself I'm watching two shows. I'm watching Vanderpump and I'm watching The Valley. But what are you watching?
Okay, so I had been watching Vanderpump and The Valley, but I missed them this week because I just I kid you not, I think I slept like 7 days straight. I've been asleep, and the only thing I watched was Baby Reindeer, and which is all the rage right now and so bizarre. Baby Reindeer, and I started watching the new episode of the new season of Survivor.
Okay.
So I have to catch up on Vanderpump and The Valley, which I'm kind of excited to do now. That gives me something to look forward to. How was it disappointing? Like what?
No, it's never disappointing. I mean, I find myself, obviously, I'm watching the Valley is an interesting show because it seems like so many of these shows, they're building relationships. Once in a while, one breaks up, but in the Valley, there's so many relationships that are falling apart. That you're
Yeah.
like, wow. And it's one of the rare shows that it feels like, as a viewer, it almost feels like more than the characters. Like something bad's coming. And the characters don't know something bad's coming. And so
Because
maybe
they're
it's
such a mess. I mean, they're all train wrecks.
they are. Put it this way: anything that Jax is touching is going to be a mess. that's what's always gonna happen, right? Anything that he's involved in is gonna be a wreck. So no, I'm not gonna ruin any of the shows for you. But yeah, I find myself watching and discussing it with friends and neighbors and everything else. And I think I told you one of my close friends, his wife is fighting breast cancer as well, and he's supporting her by watching her TV shows, and now he's hooked on both these shows too. And so I tease him all the time because he gave me a hard time forever, like, who watches that? And now he's like,
No,
hey,
he's in
let me
it.
know when you're done and call me as soon as you're done. I got to discuss stuff. And so he's all in, and it's like, all right, I'm not just me, but
Have you
that's
watched? Did you watch Baby Reindeer?
no. I first time I heard it was when you just said it. I didn't know anything
What?
about it. You got to help me out. Yeah, you got to help me
Oh,
out.
it's like the #1 show in the country right now or something. It's
Okay.
amazing. Go check it out. Everybody else knows what I'm talking about. It's darker,
Okay.
but it's great. It's really good. Definitely worth the binge. And are you a Survivor fan? Do you like that show?
I was a long time ago, and it felt like by season 4, it felt like I was watching the same show. So just stopped. I just one of my close friends watches it, every week. It's kind of like their family thing that they all watch it. But no, I stopped, probably four seasons in.
I go in and out and in and out. It was funny because there was a challenge on this recent season, and the guy had to put 20 seasons of the names, like the logo of the show, in order. And
Oh,
I'm like, the names of these tribes and the names of these shows, it goes in one ear and out the
yeah,
other.
me
And
too.
really, the cast is all kind of interchangeable to me. But I do love watching it like in the moment because I
Yeah.
love the competition. I love the whole idea of being trapped on an island. And so I like it in watching human behavior and all that. I get stuck in it in the moment, but once that season is over, I forget all about it. There's no like super fan for me.
Yeah.
I'm not a super fan by any means, but I do like the show, and Keegan likes it too. So it's something we can watch
Yeah.
together, which is
Exactly
helpful.
right.
But definitely watch Baby Reindeer.
What channel, or how do I watch it?
I believe it's on Netflix.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll definitely look for it. I'm always looking for something new to watch. So absolutely. I'm in. I'll watch it. I'll let you
And
know what I think.
Griselda, it's that beautiful woman from Modern Family, the Latina. What's her name?
Sophia Vergara.
Sofia Vergara. It's her, and she plays the drug queen pin,
Okay.
Griselda. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's great.
Oh, good.
Me and drug dealers and bad guys and all killing. I like so all in.
All
So
right.
all
I'm
in.
definitely. I'll definitely watch. I'll track that down too. That's funny. I'm always looking for stuff to watch, especially on the regular TV shows you're catching. Season finale coming up next week. And I'm like, all right, damn, what am I doing now? And so as all these shows start to wrap up, what direction am I going? That's funny. All right, I have your mailbag for you.
Okay.
Actually, one of the people in here actually says they remember you from a child, so I'm kind of curious to know how your memory is on this one. Again, Nicole's the mailbag. It's right there, perfectlytwistedpod.com. It's right there at the top of the screen. The first person is Sasha Malkin. Does that name sound familiar to you?
No.
Okay. All right. So, I'm sorry, Sasha. Here you go. It says, Nicole, do you remember me through Excelsior days? I have such fond memories and funny memories of that crazy little school. I was best friends with Adam Carl and Allison McMillan. Does that
Yes.
sound familiar
Okay.
now? Okay. Good deal.
It's first of all, it's Excelsior. Yes. Excelsior School.
Okay.
Yes, I do remember. See, sometimes it takes context to make things click in my brain. Absolutely. And I drive by Excelsior all the time, and I think I cannot believe we went to school on that corner. It's like right on the corner of Franklin and Highland in Hollywood. And it is
Yeah.
it is such a chaotic little intersection right there. And it was like a 3-room school, private school for kids in the industry.
Okay.
And then there were some wealthier kids who maybe like weren't so much into regular high school, so they went there too. And it was run by a couple, Mr. and Mrs. Fox, and they couldn't have been more bipolar opposite. And And so when the writers went on strike, we had to go to school somewhere on set, and like we couldn't just be thrown into a high school. Like it just was it was scary. It was sort of very intimidating. So there was this school, and a lot of us ended up there. Mila Jovovich went there. So many people were there. Scott Grimes was there. And yes, so when you went to Excelsior, it was very tight knit.
Oh, that's cool.
That's
That's
amazing.
cool.
Hi, Sasha.
There you go. One other question she had. She said, Nicole, as Shannon Doherty reached out post-diagnosis, was she able to help navigate you through uncharted territory?
Ironically, no, I haven't spoken to Shannon. And what is so weird is the way that people perceive things. So we had Alyssa Milano on the show not too long ago.
Yeah.
And for some reason, people are always going to look for a reason to hate. It's just the way it goes. And so there were comments I saw of people saying, "Oh, funny that you two would do a podcast when Shannon has her podcast," and as if like there was something behind why we had Alyssa on, other than just bringing her on to catch
Yeah.
up. So it kind of hurt. Like it kind of hurt my heart because I was
Yeah.
like, in no way would I do anything against Shannon, like
Yeah.
to plot against, like there was no manipulation. There was nothing about that there's just nothing there. So that was kind of like hurt my heart. And then I realized that Alyssa and Shannon, somehow there's I don't know that there's actually really a feud between them, but the public continues a feud.
Yeah.
There's a perceived feud, which I don't know anything about. And there was like some comments about like that there were sides being taken or something weird like this. I don't know. But just to clear the air, no, I haven't spoke to Shannon. My heart breaks, and I think about her a lot. And I've known her since we were very young, obviously, and I've worked with her and known her and love her. And but no, I haven't spoken with her. So I would like to. I really would like to, but all things happen in due time.
Exactly. Next question from Chris Munns. It says, Nicole, I own Amanda and the Alien on VHS. Big fan here. Can you describe the experience when making that film?
Well, I mean, it was great. It was really fun. We shot at CBS Radford, so it was very local. John Kroll, who I'm still very friendly with, and who I adore, created that. And it was just a very fun escapism, kind of sci-fi. It was sort of just, not in a box. It was very outside the box. I got to drive a really cool car. I got to wear a cool wardrobe. It just was fun. We were like snorting paprika, I believe. Like, all of this stuff going on, and it just was a really good, lighthearted time. It was just a fun gig.
Next question. These are all going to be about the same topic here because he's a huge fan. Says the last time anyone saw Michael Bendetti was on Amanda and the Alien. Were you aware that he was trying to escape Hollywood?
No, not at all. Did he manage? Is he out? Is he still here? Please update me. I did not know. And you know what? I need to go back and watch the movie. I need to go back and watch it again because I think it's been quite a while since I've seen it. So I need to have a refresher on that. But I didn't. He was a great guy. I wonder what could make him want to get out of Hollywood.
The last question that he has on this one, and I don't know the answer, but do films like this movie have a big Hollywood premiere with a cast and crew? Did they get a Hollywood premiere?
No, there was not a big, huge premiere. Those are, it was much more artsy, much more independent, I like to call it. Usually only big studio films do spend a lot of money to have a big party and a big viewing. So no, this is definitely more of a niche, cult following kind of thing. But I appreciate that you love it because it was really fun to make. Yeah,
Yeah,
really fun to make.
absolutely loves it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. There you go. That's it. So again, Cole's mailbag. If you have a question, it's that simple. All you have to do is go to perfectlytwistedpod.com, look at the mailbag right there at the top of the screen, and we'll get your questions on for Nicole.
Yes. And I love them. So keep them coming. And thanks for joining us. I hope everybody has a fantastic week. And we will see you next episode.